And President-elect Trump moving full steam ahead with his transition as he unveils more picks for key positions. This comes as he watches the launch of a powerful SpaceX rocket along with Elon Musk. Joining us now live is NTD's Iris Tao from West Palm Beach. Good evening, Iris. So what is Trump doing and saying today?
Good evening to you, Steve. President-elect Trump today flew from here in West Palm Beach to southern Texas to watch a SpaceX launch with Elon Musk. And that's another time that the two both are appearing together, and this time to watch a powerful rocket launch. Along with Elon Musk and Senator Ted Cruz, President-elect Trump on Tuesday attending the launch of SpaceX's Starship, the most powerful rocket ever built, on a 6th test flight from Texas. It's another show of Musk's increasing role in Trump's orbit, and it comes as Trump's moving full steam ahead with more picks for his new administration. On Tuesday, Trump announced Howard Lutnick will be his pick for the Commerce Secretary. Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and has been the co-chair of Trump's transition team. In a statement, Trump praised Lutnick for his work on the transition team and calling him a dynamic force on Wall Street for more than 30 years. Trump asked that Lutnick will lead our tariff and trade agenda. Trump has vowed to impose sweeping tariffs on countries like China.
Same thing with China. We're going to tariff the hell out of them.
And Lutnick has been also advocating for it.
Our economy was rocking. This is 1900, 125 years ago. We had no income tax. And all we had was tariffs.
Trump also announced that he's nominating Mehmet Oz, the celebrity doctor and one-time Pennsylvania Senate candidate, to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. That's the agency administering those welfare programs. And Trump says Oz will work with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Trump's pick for the Health and Human Services Secretary, to, quote, take on the illness industrial complex. And meanwhile, just earlier today, while at the SpaceX launch, Trump told a reporter that he is not reconsidering his nomination for Congressman Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General, which has met with some controversies. Steve.
NTD's Iris Tao, thank you for that update. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell testifying before Congress today to address allegations of political bias by members of the agency during hurricane relief efforts. NTD's Washington correspondent Luis Martinez joins us from the Capitol with more on this story.
That's right, Steve. The House's Transportation and Innovation Committee and the House's Oversight Committee held this Tuesday separate hearings to depose FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell over allegations of political bias within the agency.
Concerning press reports from Lake Placid, Florida, that FEMA skipped over homes impacted by Hurricane Milton that displayed signs supporting President-elect Trump.
The FEMA supervisor who was accused of political bias has since been fired, but lawmakers have demanded further investigation into the allegations.
What I'd like for the American people to know is before I even deployed to Florida that this was the work culture there. Unfortunately, that trend ran with those Trump campaign signs. I don't create policy. FEMA does. I just implement it in the field.
FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell defended her handling of the controversy.
Because we've seen many other government agencies that we believe have become politicized and or weaponized. So, I mean, why should we believe this is an isolated incident?
Chairman, I understand your concern and I share your concern because I want to ensure that the American people know that FEMA is there to support all people, which is why we are conducting an investigation and why we have asked the IG to look into this further to ensure that this is not beyond the one employee who sent this message.
House Republicans pressed the FEMA administrator on the management of the department's funds.
The aftermath of the hurricane blew through Tennessee and North Carolina was just devastating. And up to now, the relief, I think, effort has been lackluster at best. You know, you have these independent groups, you have Samaritan's Purse and others that are really doing great work. I think it shows that maybe government has outused its usefulness in this situation. That
FEMA needs a new director. The country wants a new administration. So the way that they've been running business now, he could request $100 trillion. And I don't have confidence in the Biden administration's ability to to use those funds in a manner that actually helps people.
Earlier this week, President Joe Biden requested nearly $100 billion in supplemental funds for FEMA, and Congress will have to review that petition.
President Biden requested close to $100 billion for FEMA. What is your reaction to that?
It's a huge amount of money. I mean, so we're going to have to see, obviously what all of that is for, but you're talking about unprecedented disasters in Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton.
Lawmakers will have until December 20th to approve or reject the supplemental funds requested by the president. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
So how are lawmakers weighing President Biden's request for $100 billion in disaster relief funds in his final days in office? And what impact will President-elect Trump's newly formed Department of Government Efficiency have on government agencies? Joining me now to discuss is Republican Congressman Ralph Norman. Congressman Ralph Norman, thank you so much for joining again.
My pleasure.
Congressman, the Biden administration is requesting an additional $100 billion in disaster relief funding, including $40 billion for FEMA. What are some of the key components of this request? And in your view, how should Congress be looking at it?
We took it up, it was on the floor yesterday, $100 billion of money we don't have. He came to my district, Hurricane Helene damaged a portion of my district, but devastated Western North Carolina. He and Mayorkas said then that FEMA was out of money. They would give them $750, which is an insult.
$750, not $750,000, $750.
$7 per person that has been affected by it. The bottom line, Steve, it's an insult. Now, he's a little too late now. It's been, what, a month since Hurricane Helene hit, and we've got more money in unspent COVID funds that he could draw from. So that's why I voted against it, and the money is not going where it needs to go, particularly in the case of Western North Carolina. Those people are devastated. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to get us back. Bottom line, it should have been offsets. It should have been some way to pay for the hurricane relief, but the way he's doing it is totally backward.
What is your sense of how lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are looking for the need for these additional disaster relief funds?
They're not looking at it hard enough. I mean, you're going to have natural disasters. It's in the business arena, you have unexpected losses. You have unexpected occurrences. And up in Congress, they don't realize that. That's why we're running the $37 trillion deficit debt that we're mounting up. And it's pretty simple. But to come at this late stage, when he only has another, 5 weeks in office until the new year kicks in, and of course January 20th is when Trump officially takes over. But it's unfair for the people who actually need the relief, and it's unfair to burden the taxpayers with that type of debt when there's money in accounts that he could prioritize if he wanted to through an executive order, and he's not doing it.
Congressman, speaking of debt and, the Pentagon recently failing another audit, I want to talk to you about this new Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are tasked with running or managing, if you will. You were very successful in business before coming into Congress here. Is this something that is needed? What are we doing wrong?
The novelty and the acumen of Donald Trump to put a man like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy is the American people want that. They need it. They have been successful in business. They're not getting a paycheck. They're doing it putting their time, tithe, and talent into this to help the country. And what's great about it, the public will have their back, and they will trust them because there's nothing to gain from them. And the great thing about it, Steve, they're publicizing it. On the 250th anniversary of America, the birthday present that we're going to be getting is a list of things that should be cut or eliminated from the federal government. And it couldn't come at a better time. And I think you'll see other states doing this. Politicians aren't the best ones to make decisions because most of them have never been in the business arena where they made money and lost money. Most politicians have signed, the biggest work is getting a government paycheck. A lot of them, to be honest with you. I serve with a lot of them, and they're good members. But with where we are with America today and the financial cliff that we're hanging on right now, it's a welcome relief. The Americans are thirsty for it, and it'll be well received.
Are there signs that, things may have gone too far and that sort of administrative state that we've heard of has formed, as Vivek Ramaswamy has stated?
Absolutely. Government has become, it's overwhelming. And what we have to remember, the states created the federal government. The federal government did not create the states. The 10th Amendment rights are going to have to be implemented now per the states. And, you wonder with the invasion at the border, if we could rewind the clock, if Texas wouldn't take matters into their own hands and stop the invasion. But what he's done is phenomenal, and he's got the right people in place. And look at the military people. Mike Waltz is a veteran. He's a Green Beret. He understands the military. He understands what's gone right, and he understands what's gone wrong.
Congressman Ralph Norman, really appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And President Biden's final G20 summit is now officially concluded. The last day of the gathering focused heavily on combating climate change. Biden also joined leaders in issuing a joint declaration. NTD's international correspondent Ariane Pazdar has an update from Brazil.
Leaders at the G20 summit publishing a joint declaration led by the host country, Brazil. The document condemns ongoing conflicts, such as in the Middle East and in Ukraine. And it also includes a push to combat climate change, which President Biden highlighted on Tuesday.
History is watching. I urge us to keep faith and keep going. This is the single greatest existential threat to humanity.
The G20 declaration called for peace in Ukraine, but without naming Russia directly. In terms of the Middle East, the leaders highlight their, quote, unwavering commitment to the vision of the two-state solution, where Israel and a Palestinian state live side by side in peace. The document did not mention the 100 hostages that remain in Hamas captivity. Brazilian President Lula da Silva presided over the closing session of the summit on Tuesday afternoon. He handed the G20 presidency over to South Africa.
This is not a common handover of the presidency, as it is a concrete expression of the historical, economic, social, and cultural links that unite Latin America and Africa.
President Biden also joined his Brazilian counterpart for lunch on Tuesday. The White House says the two discussed the U.S.-Brazil strategic relationship rooted in our strong support for democracy. Biden also reaffirmed the United States' support for President Lula's efforts to address hunger and poverty, which was one of the main topics during this week's summit. President Biden then joined the group photo, which he and French President Emmanuel Macron had missed on the first day of the summit. The White House says President Biden officially left his last G20 summit on Tuesday afternoon. Now, many of the topics discussed here this week will soon be handled by President-elect Trump again. And Trump suggests that he'll take a different course on those issues, for example, the conflict in Ukraine and climate change. Reporting in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Ariane Pazdar, NTD News.
For the first time, Ukraine has used U.S.-supplied long-range missiles to strike deep into Russian territory. The attack comes 2 days after the Biden administration gave Kyiv approval to use the U.S. long-range missiles for attacks. That's according to Moscow, which said Kyiv deployed what the U.S. calls the Army Tactical Missile System, which have a range of 40 to 190 miles. Military experts say these U.S. missiles are able to help Ukraine defend a pocket of Russian territory it has captured, but not likely to change the course of the 33-month-long war. Changes to U.S. support are expected when President-elect Trump returns to office in 2 months, having pledged to quickly end that war. In an address to Ukraine's parliament, President Volodymyr Zelensky said the war's decisive moments would come in the next year. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.